February 2021 wasn't just cold, it was disorienting. For the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, winter arrived in a way most residents had never experienced. Not as a brief freeze, not as a light dusting that melted by noon, but as a sustained, relentless storm that rewrote daily life. Freezing rain fell first, then sleet, then snow. Temperatures stayed below freezing long enough for everything to turn into glass. Roads, bridges, overpasses, power lines, trees, sidewalks, entire neighborhoods. What made this storm so dangerous wasn't just the cold, it was the ice. North Texas is not built for ice. The region lacks widespread road treatment equipment, snowplows, and infrastructure designed for prolonged winter conditions. Elevated highways especially became traps. Once ice formed, there was nowhere for vehicles to regain traction. That reality set the stage for one of the most devastating traffic disasters in Texas history. On the morning of February 11th, 2021, southbound Interstate 35W in Fort Worth looked passable at first glance, but beneath the surface, the roadway was frozen solid. Drivers slowed, some didn't slow enough. One vehicle lost control, then another, then dozens more. Over the course of hours, a 133 vehicle pileup unfolded across an elevated stretch of highway. Cars slid uncontrollably, trucks jackknifed, vehicles collided again and again as new traffic entered the ice covered zone. By the time the scene was fully secured, 6 people had lost their lives and dozens were injured. But the crash was not an isolated incident, it was a symptom. Across the Metroplex, conditions were deteriorating rapidly. Neighborhood streets turned into skating rinks. Vehicles were abandoned mid road. Emergency responders struggled to reach calls. Even walking outside became dangerous. At the same time, the power began to fail. As the storm intensified, the Texas electrical grid came under extraordinary strain. Demand for heat surged while power generation faltered. Natural gas lines froze. Wind turbines iced over. Power plants shut down or reduced output. The organization responsible for managing the grid, ERCOT, initiated rolling outages to prevent a total system collapse. But what were supposed to be short, rotating blackouts became prolonged outages for many residents. In parts of North Texas, power was out for hours, then days. Homes grew colder by the hour. Indoor temperatures dropped into the 40s and 30s. Families huddled under blankets. People slept in coats. Some burned furniture or used grills indoors in desperation, leading to fires and carbon monoxide poisoning. Water systems began to fail as pipes froze and burst. Entire neighborhoods lost running water. Boil notices spread. Grocery shelves emptied. Gas stations shut down. The Metroplex, one of the fastest growing regions in the country, was suddenly immobilized. Hospitals operated on backup generators. Firefighters responded to frozen hydrants. Police departments shifted into emergency mode. First responders worked nonstop in conditions they were never trained to handle. And all of it was happening simultaneously. The I-35W pileup became the most visible symbol of the storm's danger, but it was far from the only tragedy. Across Texas, dozens lost their lives due to hypothermia, fires, medical device failures, and accidents tied directly to the storm. For residents of Dallas Fort Worth, the experience was surreal. Familiar highways were impassable. Neighborhoods were silent except for cracking trees and sirens in the distance. Cell phones became lifelines. Social media filled with pleas for help, offers of shelter, and updates on which areas still had power. Time blurred. Day and night lost meaning when the lights stayed off. People checked thermostats more than clocks. Meals became improvised. Normal routines vanished. The storm exposed vulnerabilities few had considered. Homes designed for heat retention struggled to stay warm without electricity. Infrastructure built for heat waves collapsed under cold. Emergency planning assumed brief winter events, not sustained Arctic conditions. And for many, trust was shaken. Questions emerged about preparedness, grid design, accountability, and communication. Why were outages uneven? Why were warnings unclear? Why were some areas dark for days while others remained lit? Those questions would be debated for years, but in the moment, survival was the focus. When temperatures finally rose and ice began to melt, the damage became fully visible. Crumpled vehicles still lined sections of highway, burst pipes flooded homes, fallen trees blocked streets. The Metroplex looked battered. Recovery took weeks, repairs took months. The memory remains. The February 2021 winter storm changed how North Texas thinks about weather. It ended the assumption that severe winter events were someone else's problem. It forced conversations about infrastructure, resilience, and preparedness in a region better known for heat than ice. And the I 35W crash remains a permanent marker of that moment, not just as a traffic accident, but as a reminder of how quickly conditions can overwhelm systems and how fragile normal life can be when rare events collide. For Dallas Fort Worth, February 2021 was not just a storm, it was a reckoning, a moment when the entire Metroplex learned in real time what happens when ice, infrastructure, and human systems fail together. And it's a lesson that still matters today.